Hi, I'm Cori. Welcome to Creating with Scraps. This video is Scrap Clusters 10 Ways. And some of you might be saying, Cori, you do clusters a lot and you've got 4 or 5 videos about clusters. But as I was making some the other day, I realized that I just kind of put them together. I'm not intentional about what products I use or the way I assemble them or the process. I mean, I know what the process is, but I'm just saying there's a whole bunch of different ways to use them and to make them, and I wanted to kind of mentally identify those different ways so I could be sure that when I am making them I use all variety of those ways. And so I'm sure there's more than 10, but I've identified 10 that I use fairly frequently and thought I'd share those with you. So I'm going to start. Basically, a cluster is just a combination of elements: paper, lace, ribbon, vellum, just those kinds of things, and we use them to accent greeting cards and more along the lines of what I do, junk journaling. And I use them for just about everything, and I've got videos that show that. But I want to focus again on the different types of clusters. And one of them, and the one I probably make and use the least, but is available to many people, is stickers. So again, all of them have paper in there. Well, most of them have paper. But then how we finish them off. Okay, so there's going to be a lot of crinkling in there. Stickers. This is a cluster with the owl sticker. Now, he had some white rim around the edge that I cut off, but it's a cluster with paper, 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 and then a sticker. Same thing here. This little February century deal was a sticker. So I just put that on top of the base. I still do the clusters in my 3 steps. I put the paper together first, and then I sew and put lace if I'm going to do lace, and then I add the top pieces, the Tracy labels, the item that's the focus of the cluster, and then anything extra. Like here, this is one of the vellum stickers, and I just put a Tracy label and then some mini brads in there. And then here's a real tiny one with just a vellum sticker and a Tracy label. And then here's another one. So stickers. Stickers is way number 1. All right. The next way is the way I probably do them most often because I have an affection for die cuts and I know it. And so I won't go through all of these pieces by any means. But the idea is that you can build your base and then add die cuts. And I kind of showed previously in another video, I showed kind of the difference between a pre-printed item and a die cut. And a die cut is, in my brain, I would consider this a pre-printed item because the butterfly sticker was already done. And I would consider this a die cut because I cut it with a machine and put it on top. And you can see there's pre-printed, which should have gone on the other one, but you can see here die cuts. And there's a whole bunch of different ways. And I included these to show you, like here it is on a journaling tag. Here it is on an envelope. Here it is on a little pocket, tuck pocket for the side. Again, another pocket for your pages. A cluster on a booklet. And I know I'm going through these quickly because a lot of them you've seen before. And then here it's loose or free, and I can just put it on anything I want when I'm ready to create a spread or an embellishment in a journal. Here, this little cluster is on an envelope. You know, there's a writing spot in the back, there's a journaling tag. It's the base of a pocket for an envelope. And same thing here. Now, I've got these in die cuts, but these would actually, I would consider this is a die cut, and this is a pre-printed, and that happens quite a bit too. You take something that's pre-printed, like these fussy cut birds, and then you take a die cut, and then you combine them and put them together. And this is just a pocket for a page. Here is a Tim Holtz flower die cut on book page. Here is a die cut that's just on a really simple cluster, but it's done in neutrals and gives you kind of a more muted effect. Here it is again on a mini, so you can change the size. The nice thing about some of these die cuts is that you can cut bits and pieces off of them to make them as large or as small as you want. And here is, I'm sharing this one because I showed it the other day when I did the JJ Tips, Tricks, Hacks collaboration video where I talk about 10 different ways to use unwanted or underloved paper. And here it was just, this is the die cut out of that paper. So again, you can see that it's been used. And here it is on a cluster that's on a big journal page piece, right? And then again, same idea, just a whole bunch of ways to use die cuts. So probably one I use too often, but die cuts would be number 2. Number 3, postage stamps. And I recently shared that postage stamp album in different ways to make things with using postage stamps. So I'll go over this real quick. But these ones are super fast. I think I inked them, but I didn't do anything with them. Just a simple cluster with postage stamps. So you can see way number 3 is just postage stamps. Item or way number 4 is a button spot. And some people don't differentiate between a scrap cluster and a button spot. I do, so that's why I did it this way. I mentally think of them as different. But a button spot is just a cluster. It can be mostly fabric, mostly lace, paper, fabric, and lace, all of those things. But then I add a button. So here's kind of a small one, and here's a larger one on a doily. These both have 1 button, but you can add 3 buttons, or 2 buttons. And these just make great little embellishments for just about anything on your pages. And again, 3 buttons, 1 button. The beauty of this is you can make them as big or as small as you need. So button spots was way number, I don't even know what number I'm on. 4 maybe? That was 4. Number 5, fabric and lace. And this is just a tiny bit different than a button spot because it's essentially the same thing as a button spot without a button, and these just are fabric and lace. There's no paper on these. You can add them to paper, but I like having some of these made up and ready to go so that they are ready to be used when I want them for something. So when I have little bits of leftover fabric and lace, I will combine them together. And here's a really big one, for a side or a bottom or a pocket or something. Here's one that I made into kind of a ruffle, a page ruffle. Too many in my hand. But you can see they're just little bits of fabric and lace that are combined, and then I can add to them later when I'm ready to. And here's even one in pink, and I never use pink. So, using scraps is what I do with a fabric and lace. And I'll show you what I mean. So I've got this little base, and I'll keep it in my little bin, right? And if I need a little something for a journal that I'm working on, maybe I'll add a pre-printed image, which would be, this fussy cut bird. Maybe I'll put him on top, all right? Or maybe I would rather have a butterfly based on what I'm working on, and then I need just a little bit of a label and a butterfly. Or maybe I wanted this one to be a button spot, so I'll put a button on there and then another label. So having these ready to go, these bases ready to go, allows you to add pieces as you need or as you want. All right, that was 5. Number 6 is dimensional. And this kind of grew as I was making them because I was realizing, oh, that's dimensional, oh, that's dimensional. And I know many times in our journals we don't want to add bulk, but I am the queen of bulk, so I do it all the time. My journals are generally designed to be not just writing, but the option of adding pictures or memorabilia or whatever you want. So my pages tend to be a little bit thicker. But here's a crocheted piece, so it makes it a little bit more bulky. Here are wish seeds from a dandelion that I just stapled right on top, and it's not a lot of dimension, but it is certainly still dimensional. And this is a waxed, is that upside down? It was, sorry. That is a waxed seal added. And then here is a fabric flower, and that is again upside down fabric flower, and those add quite a bit of bulk, but they're so much fun and pretty. Maybe I'd put that on a cover or something. Here is one with just a key as the butterfly body, and in order to get this key to stay on, and it stays on really well, I used Tim Holtz Collage medium. It's a glue that dries clear, and it's fabulous for things like this. Here is just another little itty bitty fabric one with a wax seal with a flower pressed in. That was on an order that I got, and I just peeled it off and used it. And here's just metal and then a brad. And here's more for like a steampunky type piece, so just not a ton of dimension. These cogs are fairly flat, but they're still a little bit heavy, and there's dimension. And then here's one. I created the dimension by adding some brads and adding a pocket to the top of a cluster. So dimensional pieces, deliberately or intentionally adding a little bit of bulk. And then printed image. And printed image is, to me, a little bit different. It's not necessarily die cuts, though it can be, but like when you buy a package of, say, Tim Holtz ephemera or some other people's ephemera, or you buy a digital kit and you fussy cut the pieces on there, I consider those printed images. And they're a little bit different than a die cut, even though they can be die cuts, because it's not something that you assembled and cut out of a machine yourself. And a lot of times, you know, paper packs will have these squares or fussy cut pieces, and then those are what I consider printed images. And here is a cluster just on a little journaling flip down. And here is a digital kit. I think this is Tracy Fox, and you know, just a cluster with a pre-printed image. And here again, you know, some of them are square, some of them are different shapes. This is some of the Tim Holtz ephemera that's pre-printed. I just included that on there. Here is a piece that was made to look like a postage stamp, though it's not actually a postage stamp. And here, I think everybody has seen these. It's a Tim Holtz butterfly, and it's pre-printed, and I just put it on top of here to make either a journaling card, or probably I'd use this as a tuck spot. But it's collaged paper and elements combined with that. Here is a fussy cut bird, and I don't know who made this bird. It could be Tracy Fox, Shabby Dabby Doodah, or Andrea Allen, Artie Mays, maybe. There were 3 different bird kits that I had, and I kind of combined them. But so a pre-printed image that I have fussy cut and made into a cluster. Here is more of those wish seeds with just a little bit of a cluster. It doesn't have to be big. I think these are some of the Tim Holtz people, and I think they're a German family because I've got old German book page back there. German family that was visiting the Eiffel Tower. I think that's the Eiffel Tower. I don't know. It's kind of far away. And then here is a Tim Holtz. This is Tim Holtz flower, Tim Holtz image, and just combined together with a little bit of lace in here. And that's a fun cluster to put on. Here you go again. It's just butterflies in 2 different sizes layered up. And then again, another Tim Holtz flower. So pre-printed or printed images. And then I recently played with Gail Augustinelli, shared a video about stamping neutral images and then, you know, doing a real simple base like this. She has a formula where you stamp and then you add lace and I think she used doily and book page. And there's one more thing. So I played with those, and I started making neutrals, and then I started adding book page and adding color, and I started changing it up just a little bit based on what I had and the materials I wanted to use. And these go super, super, super quick. They're fun, they're handy to have on hand, super quick embellishment, but they also caused me to transition into the next one, which I'll call stamped. Now these are all stamped, but I consider these neutrals and their formula, and they're generally pretty good sized. Not always, because of the size stamps you use. So if you use smaller stamps, they can be smaller sized. But it's kind of a formula to stamp the image and then frame around it and then sew. And I learned through doing this process what works and what doesn't. I like using the book page too, but you can see the really fine detailed stamps don't come out as clearly or as well. Smaller stamps or more detailed stamps tend to work better on your offcuts of paper. You can watercolor with it. You can do anything you want over the top. But basically the idea is you're creating a stamped image or a neutral image, which transition into the next one, stamped image, on a cluster. All right, I pulled those aside on purpose because that transitions us into the stamped image, which is the next one. And these are a lot of fun, and they go quick. And what Gail had done is a super way, and this is just another version. Gail's way inspired this, and you can see this bag is full. So I stamped a bunch of the flowers that I had, and they're long and lean for the most part. And so I thought, well, I don't have to necessarily frame out the whole thing. I'll just frame it off to the side and create a different type of a cluster. I've still got paper. I've still got different kinds of paper, a little bit of lace sewn in there, but it's the more along the lines of the die cut clusters that I do. They're kind of a little bit long and lean, and they don't have to be. Here's a Laura Bain fold down with this particular one, and yeah, so I want to keep that one. And here again, cluster on top of a little notebook. And then these are just stamped images, and I stamp them a couple different ways. Here's a neutral one that probably should have gone in the neutral. I misfiled it. But you can see, you can make them a little bit smaller, but there's the formula, you know, the 3 pieces, and it kind of frames it. Whereas here, this is just kind of off to the side. The stamped image is the focus of the cluster. And here and here you go, with the offcuts of the paper, a little bit of lace, a little bit of ribbon, and the stamped image on a little, I guess a little pamphlet booklet. There's a pocket, fold out place, all kinds of little bits. Oh yeah, this is a fun one. So that's what these are, stamped image. And I brought the pieces to show you how I do it. And I've got, let's see, I've got a couple of them here so you can see the difference. I did these on purpose, but I mixed them all together. Ah, nope, that's shiny too. Got lots of shiny. Here we go. Nope, that's shiny too. I like that image. It stamps really well, so I did a bunch of them. But I made one that was, oh, here's an unfinished one, so you can see the difference. Ah, I knew I had one that was not finished. All right, I'll show you how to do it, but you can see the difference. This one has not been embossed. This one has been embossed, and they both work, so it's just a matter of personal preference. You can see that image embossed and unembossed. And here it's just a little bit darker depending on how much ink you put on, or how hard you press, or what have you. I emboss this a lot, but this is one of my favorites. I really like the way that goes. And I thought, oh, I did. I was going to say, I thought I put some paper. Now, as far as what paper you use, you can use anything. This is a great project for your offcuts. Here's offcut stationery, you know, the nice onion skin type stationery. Here is canvas. Here is thicker canvas, coffee dyed paper. You know, you can use, here's, oh, you know, that stuff that you paint, watercolor paper. You can use just about any kind of paper. Here is a piece of piano roll, ironed piano roll. You can use anything and you'll get different looks. Like the piano roll has a little bit of a gloss to it, so when you stamp, it stays wet a little bit longer. So I'll quickly show you my process for doing this. And I put aside a little bit of things. And I didn't grab the same colors, so I apologize for that. Here is a purple pen. Here, I use the Zig Clear Brush markers, but I grabbed my old Marvies and they had kind of dried out. But you can use Copics. You can use, I wouldn't use a permanent marker like a Sharpie or a Pitt Big Boss marker, but you can use pretty much anything else. And I just color the flower image. And then I will color, and I've got a purple streak in there. Let's hope the pen picks it up. Am I even in frame? Sorry about that. Let's try that again. I color the purple image, or the flower petals. Just go over that briefly. You can see it's not precise and not fancy. And then I'll take my green pen and I'll come in for my stems. Maybe that's why I like this one, because it's so easy. And then I just stamp it just like that. Now I can leave it just like this and let it, you can see it stays wet for a little bit. I can leave it just like this and use it, cut it into a strip, and use one of my other stamps and put a number on here, or put a Tracy label on afterwards. You have lots of options. If I wanted to emboss it, and I'm not going to emboss on screen because you've seen plenty of samples, but I'll show you what I do. You can, if I'm embossing a whole image, I'll use this or an embossing pad. But if I just want to emboss, say, just the flower pieces, this is Seth Apter Vintage Beeswax Embossing Powder. The Tim Holtz Embossing Glaze is also embossing powder, and it works exceptionally well. I don't have all the colors, but same idea. It gives you a similar effect. So I'm going to use, this is an embossing pen. It happens to be Zig, but there's a whole bunch of different brands. Using my embossing pen, and I'm going to color over one of them. And put the embossing powder on the top. And I'm not going to do the whole thing because you get the idea. It's the same process. And then you can see the embossing powder on there. And when I heat it, it'll give you, this is the same color, that embossed look. And that's all there is to it. And then you can use it however you choose. All right, put this mess away. Okay, so that is stamped, and I think that was way number 8, maybe. I've lost track, and I didn't number the bags, so there's a whole bunch of these here. And again, that's another one that goes pretty darn quickly, and great way to use supplies that you already have. And you don't have to use a specific stamp. Use yard sale stamps, or just use what you've got in your collection. All right, the last 2 ways that I've got here, or maybe that was number 9. Let's see. Button spots, die cuts, stamped image, fabric, lace, I did those together, stickers, postage stamps, dimensional, printed image. Maybe I separated. Oh, fabric and lace. I don't know what I did. Anyway, I think I'm at 10. I think the last one is mixed media. I think I've done everything else. Mixed media. And this is a result of Gail and Gina and Tracy Fox, and it was a whole rabbit hole, but it was a whole heck of a lot of fun. And I shared the quick video of my process the other day. And you know what? I'm going to put that to the side. I'll do that afterwards. A quick process of how I made those collage strips. And I'll show you that because I had several people ask what I did with it and how I ended up using it. And I'm not done, but it's a work in progress. So this is another way. And actually on my JJ Tips, Tricks, Hacks, I should have had 11 ways instead of 10 because you can cover your thing, your underlug paper with mixed media product. And this was my take on Tracy, who was inspired by Gail, who was inspired by Louisa Heinzel. And I'm not going to show you because they did it. I just did it a little bit differently. They all dumped it in a bucket and added things, and I spread it out and added things. Same exact idea. And I'm sharing this because I didn't get the results that I expected. I thought I was going to like the neutrals best. And so I put a little bit of everything in there. I thought I was going to like the neutrals and the effect on the neutrals best, but I didn't. I actually preferred the look on digital paper because I don't have a laser printer, I have an inkjet. The wetness caused some of the colors to smear, and I absolutely love the way the colors smeared. So I really liked it on digitals, and I also really liked it on bold or loud pattern paper. I liked the way it turned out. It kind of subdued it or toned it down. Like I said, my process was slightly different than theirs. I laid them all out. I sprayed them with coffee. No, I didn't spray it. I took my hand, and I actually wore a glove for a change, took my hand and just splattered coffee all over them. And then I added some walnut stain, just sprayed on walnut stain. And then I used black acrylic and white gesso. And then at the end, I used my acrylic block and stamped some Tim Holtz wild honey and the orange one, campfire, maybe? I don't remember which ones I grabbed. Anyway, I grabbed 2 of those and I stamped it on an acrylic block, sprayed it, and then used my splatter brush and splattered it. And oh my gosh, talk about fun. Really, really enjoyed it. I don't like it as much on papers that have really busy images. I didn't care for it at all on paper that has holes like this. I thought it was going to be really pretty, but it just wasn't enough space. This was just a die cut that had torn. So I thought I'd try it, but there's too much space, so you can't really see the detail. So I don't know that I would do that again. And surprisingly, vellum. I thought I was going to love it on vellum, and it's okay on vellum, but I don't love it. Again, my favorite is by far the effect it gets on digitals because I have a regular inkjet printer. All right, so that's mixed media. And along the mixed media line, I made those collage strips that Gail had shared that were inspired by Gina. And people asked how I did those or how I used those. So I'm going to show you what I did. I had mentioned that a friend had given me a wildflower book, and I was going to use the pages for a yellow wildflower journal. And so I got started on that. It's not done by any means. And while I was looking for green paper, I used my Tim Holtz green, which is real thick. And it happened to be right next to the backdrops that Tim Holtz has. He's not doing his 12 by 12 paper anymore, but he has this new backdrops. It's the same thickness, I think, and great stuff. Well, some of the colors matched what I was doing, so I pulled that out, and that's my basis basically for this book. I used a combination of the collage strips that I made and the Tim Holtz backdrops and the wildflowers to make my mini journal. And I don't remember what the dimensions are. 5 inches by 6 inches, something like that. Yeah, 6 by 5. And on here, like I said, I'm not done, but that's too thick. Let's do this. There's a pocket on the front. And that was another thing. I was watching Tracy Fox, Love Junk Journals, while I was doing this, and she'd been using file folders. And I don't know, a couple of years ago, I had purchased some black file folders. So I grabbed 2 of the black file folders, and that's what I used to create this. So on the front, there is a pocket, and then on the back, there's a pocket at the top where I combine the file folders. All right. So here is one way that I've used my collage strips. I just made it into a tag. I haven't put it in the book yet because I haven't gotten a spot for it, but I've turned that into an envelope and a mini file folder. And here it is just on a traditional cluster. Since this is a cluster video, there's an example just on a cluster. And here it is with a die cut, and I'll put this, I cut it out. This is the collage strip piece, and I just put it on, and I'll add it to a page I've got in mind later on. And here it again with the wildflowers on a collage strip. There is the paper that I made. I tried it on both dark and light cardstock. I laid it over it just for stability because it's, coffee dyed tracing paper, or it's not coffee dyed, it's just tracing paper, so it's not super thick. I laid it over some black cardstock here, and you can really see the metallic colors, but some of the other stuff gets lost. And here is the same thing over off-white cardstock, and I like that notably better, but either will work. And so I started putting this together, and I used some of the pieces that I've created in here with that mixed media collage strip. So here's just a little booklet. I didn't even that's the cover, a simple little cover with a booklet. And here it is on a tiny cluster. Here it is on top of cardstock as a fold over. So there's a tuck in the front and in the back. Here it is made into a pocket for another booklet. And here it is as a cover. This is the negative space. That was the other image that you saw. Here's the negative space laid on top of green cardstock, and then just made into a little, you can see is there paper in there? I forgot to put paper in. Well, I'll sew paper in, and on top of another booklet. Here it is all crumbled up and sewn as a ruffle. This is a side tuck pocket to put something in there. And I saw this little sticker, this Tim Holtz sticker. It says "Remember to play," and Gail caused me to play with this, so I had to include that. Here it is as a flip-up pocket. This is again just on that tracing paper on cardstock. And here it is again as a cluster. It's back behind here on this orange paper. And so you can see I've got more pages to finish, but this is a belly band. It goes all the way through, and I'll put something in that. Here it is just as a belly band, and then here is a page tab, page turner, and I think that was it. So there are some of the ways that I used that mixed media paper. I also put it into a collage that I'll use in there, and with the papers that I use inside of it. And see, here is that collage strip, and here, and up here, and up here, and I just kind of blended it in with the other papers so that it just served its purpose. So you can collage with collage. So there's that. All right, those are my, I think, 9, 10, I lost count, ways to intentionally make clusters and use different pieces. Now, before I made this video today, I saw that Andrea Allen Artie Mays has a cluster kit. And please know that my scrap cluster, stamp and scrap cluster kits, and then what I intended with this was it was a serendipitous happening. I didn't talk to her about it. She didn't talk to me. It was just, clusters are common and we all use them. And I was just being intentional about how I use them. So if you are new to making clusters and you're, kind of overwhelmed, her kit is a fabulous way to start, because everything you need, other than glue and lace, if you choose to use lace, is right there. You just cut and assemble, and she shows lots of great examples for that. All right. Everybody who has paid has had their scrap and stamp cluster book sent. And I had mentioned on a previous video that I made 3 extras to use as a raffle, because one of my viewers suggested, well, why not do it as a raffle? And there we go. See, once again, I'm out of frame. Sorry about that. So I made 3 extras. I've also got some people who haven't contacted me. They had requested it. I'd said I had one for them. And so I've got some extras there. If those still haven't, and it's not a big deal at all, because I understand life happens, people forget, people get busy, people get sick, what have you. But I've got some extras, and so if those people don't respond or choose not to purchase them, I will include those as well. So what I've done, or what I've thought about, I talked to Tracy from Love Junk Journals, and she has a Buy Me a Coffee, and so I thought for a raffle, I would do the Buy Me a Coffee. So I set up a Buy Me a Coffee account, and I'll link it below. I'll come back and edit it and link it below. And I am going to raffle off these 3 scrap and stamp cluster kits. And these are exactly like the ones you've seen in a previous video. No matter how many people choose to donate or not, these, and it's not for me, I'm going to use it for some of the families, up to 10 now, that have lost people in the last couple months. I'm going to donate, and I've been able to donate quite a bit, which was really cool, thanks to you guys. So I am going to, no matter how much is raised, I'm going to raffle these 3 off. And then for everything over $150, I'll add another item. And maybe it'll be another scrap and stamp cluster kit. Maybe it'll be what we made on the tips and tricks video, JJ Tips, Tricks, Hacks video, these little folios that are notebooks. I made several of those. I've got one for the prize, of course, but I made a couple extras. And on that note, somebody had asked me to make one with the paper that I'd showed you. So I used 2-sided cardstock on most of these, but a lot of us have single-sided cardstock, and you can still do it. You just fold the paper in half, and that's what I did here. So I folded it in half, and then these are, less traditionally vintagey colors, papers. These are just off-white and black papers. So here is the paper that I showed in the video. You can just fold it in half, and then you need 2 sheets of it, doing it that way. But here it is turned into one of these little folio notebooks. So, and then I used some beads at the bottom, little heart beads at the bottom. So that was kind of fun too. So I'll edit this at the end, the Buy Me a Coffee link. I hope the darn thing works. If you enter amount, doesn't matter. If you do donate or do the Buy Me a Coffee thing, your name automatically goes in the raffle. And at the very minimum, regardless if it's $5 raised or 150, these 3 scrap and stamp cluster kits will be raffled. And I'm going to do that February 28th. I don't remember what day of the week that is. It is a Monday. So I'll do it Monday after school on the 28th. No, I'm going to give you through the 28th. I will do it March 1st. I'll do it Tuesday evening, March 1st. I will hold the raffle. And then as soon as the winners get a hold of me, I will ship them out, and I'll pay for that. I think that's all I had. I apologize if I was supposed to answer a question and I forgot, but I feel like this is probably long enough. Thank you very much for watching. Thank you for your support. It's deeply appreciated, and the people that you've been able to bless appreciate it as well. Take care and happy creating.